right, so here we are with Monday night's assignment. This is 9/24/12. So if you will take a few moments and go ahead and set up your spiral for today's lesson in your Cornell note format. There's your date and there's your title. So if you need to pause to get that together, you will also need your flip chart notes, a highlighter, and a pen or pencil to write with. So if you need to pause, go ahead and pause and set up your spiral. All right, so yesterday in class, or actually today in class, and then for the homework, you did an activity that reminded you how to graph some points. And so just as a quick reminder, some things that you need to make sure you know is for sure how to graph. Knowing that you have to go side to side first and then up or down second is extremely important. You also need to make sure that you know your quadrants. And I always tell the kids that it basically makes a C pattern. And this can be found in your flip chart notes. So you can also make that C pattern in your flip chart notes. So go ahead and open your flip chart notes to where you see this with the coordinates or ordered pairs so that you can make that. That's a very good way of remembering which quadrant is which. All right, so now we need to take the highlighter and also in your notes, I want you to highlight what an ordered pair is, because that is our focus for today. An ordered pair is the same thing as a coordinate. It's where you have two numbers. Okay, the first one represents your X number, the second one represents your Y number, and of course you can take these two numbers and you can plot a point on a graph. Well, these ordered pairs actually come from someplace, and what we're going to kind of look at today is kind of look at the beginnings of where do coordinates, or what we call ordered pairs, come from. All right, now also at the bottom, okay, or actually not at the bottom, but in your flip chart or in your spiral, go back to your spiral real quick. I also want you to write down this statement as well. An ordered pair is a solution of two variable equation that can be written as an ordered pair. That's what we're doing today. That's what we're kind of looking at, is that we are going to be taking a two variable equation and forming these ordered pairs that we can then go graph at some point. Okay, so go ahead also. So I want you to do your highlighting in your flip chart notes. I want you to write that first statement down there that I just highlighted in your spiral. So if you, again, you need to pause, you can do that, and then we're going to move forward. All right, so this is the first example, and as you can see, it says write in your spiral. This, of course, is what we call a two variable equation. As you can see, we've got a Y and we've got an X. So that's why it's called a two variable. And basically what I'm trying to determine here is if I were to plug, this being the X number, this being the Y number, if I were to plug the 3 in for X and the 11 in for Y, would it actually be equal? That's what the equal sign means, okay? Would what I get here match with what I get here? Okay, are they equal? And so if you write this down and you notice and you look at the steps that are being taken, all right, in fact, it is equal, which means that 311 is what we call a solution to this equation, all right, and that's what we're looking for. Now, just as a reminder, while I'm kind of moving that around, the order in which a solution is written is important. Always write your X first, then your Y, okay, so it is always the X number first, then the Y number. So go ahead and in your spiral, make sure you finish writing that down. That is an example that you need. Then I want you to do this one on your own, following the exact same process. Don't forget that the first number is your X number, the second number is your Y number, and I want you to determine whether this is or is not a solution. So again, pause the video so that you can solve this problem on your own. Here's the next example that I want you to do. We're basically taking another two variable equation here, okay, this one right here, and we're going to set up more than one solution, because the good thing about two variable equations is that you actually have more than one answer. There's not just one answer. There's actually a whole bunch of answers that we could come up with. So what we're going to do here is you can see that we're going to take a number, we're going to plug it in for X, and we're going to see what our answers are. And those answers that we get from taking that X number and plugging it in are the Y's that we get as a result. And as we know, if we take a X that we got and we take a Y that we get as an answer, so this is the number we're plugging in, this is the number that we're getting as an answer, together they form an ordered pair or a coordinate. And so we can plug in any numbers that we want. So I'm going to have you plug in 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the numbers we're plugging in. These are the answers that you're getting, and together they form some ordered pairs or some solutions there. Okay, so finish writing that down in your spiral as well. That is your second example. So pause if you need to. Then I want you to do this one on your own. Again, following the exact same process that I showed you. And if you need to go back and look at the other example or go back and listen to me talk a little bit on that last example, that is an option that you have. So these, again, are the numbers that you are plugging in for X. So work this problem. So again, pause the video and work that problem out. All right, so the last example that I'm going to have you write down, if you look here, is kind of a word problem situation, but they still give you a two-variable equation here, and they're telling you what the P means and the W means. So W is the wholesale cost, and then they tell you that the wholesale cost is $48. So basically they want you to take the 48 and plug it in for W and then solve to get an actual answer of what the price of everything he sells with a 20% markup would be. All right, and you get an answer, of course, of $57.60. So write this down in your spiral and read over it. Make sure you understand it. So again, pause for a moment to go do that. And then I want you to work this one on your own. Same concept. Here's your two-variable equation that you're working with. Okay, the wholesale cost is $85. So using that last example as a guide, you should be able to work through the steps here and get an answer. So again, pause the video so that you can go do that. So then what you're going to do is basically make sure that if you had any difficulties on working the three problems on your own, that you write down any questions that you have. That's what the Cornell Notes is for. You have that column over there on the left-hand side that is for questions, and be prepared to ask those tomorrow as we kind of practice at this skill some more. You also have the ability that this is coming directly from the textbook, this lesson, and so you can go to 3-1 in the textbook or the online textbook, and there are video tutorials that go over some more practice problems, and you always have that ability to do that as well. So we will see you tomorrow.